Good evening, you're on Bent TV. You're going to be spending the whole night with me, Sammi Whitehead, in the thick of it. Tonight I'm really excited because I'm bringing you some work done by one of my most favourite advocates in our community, Daniel Witthaus. Daniel's the creator and the founder of the National Institute for Challenging Homophobia Education. Recently he put together some amazing cartoon series called YourStory. These cartoons, he was lucky enough to have the maestro cartoonist himself, Kenton Penley Miller, to pen them for him, and they were shot by award-winning filmmaker Jonathan Duffy. We're going to bring you the whole series tonight, so strap yourselves in. Here's the L and the G.
I was in primary school, and I can remember this dream I had about my music teacher. I had a huge crush on her. In my dream, I had her baby and I was breastfeeding it. Sounds really weird, I know, but I guess I've always known. When I was 15, I had a best friend and I was totally in love with her. We used to wag school and steal her mum's wine. One day, both of us went down to the beach and started talking under the pier. She was complaining and complaining about her boyfriend until finally I said to her, "If you keep whinging about him, I'm going to kiss you." So she kept complaining and well, all these passers-by were soon watching us two girls in school uniforms kissing passionately on the beach beside a bottle of wine. It was freaking awesome. I told everyone at school I'd shed my first kiss, but I was afraid of how they'd react, so I changed her name to a boy's. I was getting a lot of abuse as a young lesbian. I tried to laugh things off, keep it light, but it got to me. I didn't feel safe. One night, I was quite drunk when I finally confessed to my mum that I was a lesbian. Mum reassured me saying, "You know what, love? I still love you." I still hold on to that. Dad's a different story though. He still thinks it's some kind of phase. My nan, I love her. She was on and on and on at me to go on Facebook, and finally I joined up. Then she looked at my page and saw that I'd joined an online gay group, so she rang my mum. She asked my mum, "Is Minnie gay?" My mum says, "Yes," and in the background my dad yells out, "She thinks she's gay." So my nan sent me a Facebook message that just said, "I love you." I wrote back, "I love you too, I'm sorry, Nan." Then my nan wrote back again, "You have nothing to be sorry about." I cried. My family's here, my friends are here, my life is here. Of course I'm going to be staying in the town I live in. I know the stereotype says that all of us LGBTQI people are destined to move away to a larger city the first chance we get, but not me. I love it here. It's where I'm from and it's where I'm staying.
I live in this small seaside town. Not the sort of place where people might think it's easy to be gay. I tell people I'm not gay, but my boyfriend is. Except there is no boyfriend. Look, I can't dress for shit, I drive cars and I'm messy. That's not how people personify being gay. The gayest thing I do is wear pink, but every guy pretty much seems to do that these days. My best mate, who's straight as they come, probably wears more pink than I do. People will tell you that this place is one of the most homophobic towns in the state, but I don't really experience it that way. I've always stayed the same. I'm pretty much a regular guy. My family and friends accept me for that. I can pretty much pick the day I realised I was gay. It was at school during a sexual health education class. They just showed males, half naked, shirtless, on video. I had obvious arousal and I never had to wonder much about it ever again. I am not attracted to females in the slightest. They sit on my lap, some try and touch me when they're drunk, but nothing ever happens. Telling my family? My sister discovered some gay erotica in my room one New Year's Eve. I got home on New Year's Day and I had to admit to her that I was gay. 1 week later, she told our mum in the car, then mum told dad. My dad has an openly gay brother, so he's probably further along than most folk. And mum, well, she's a well-known health professional in town. She even did some gay counselling course a few years ago. At high school, there's always that kid who gets teased for being gay. I was that kid. But at least I didn't get bashed. I've heard lots of stories of young people who moved away without letting people know that they were gay or otherwise. Most of them felt that they didn't have a choice. If I'd had bad reactions from my friends, then I probably would have moved. It's not perfect, but it's my home. Even though it's hard, I don't want to move away. I have almost everything in life I could want. Well, except one thing. I wish I could find a boyfriend here. I just want to find someone nice and be happy. Then I can tell people, I'm not gay, but my boyfriend is.
We hope you enjoyed the L and the G stories, and coming up next after the break, we're going to have a look at the B and the T, so don't go anywhere.
I always found it difficult to find a label that best describes me. In primary school, I knew I was attracted to the same sex, but I was also attracted to the opposite sex. I never really had anyone to talk to about it. I was always told that there are two types of people, gay and straight. And being gay at a very conservative school, I was told that gay was not good. High school was hard. It was a very homophobic environment, and not just homophobic language either. It was really deep-seated stuff. Bullying was everywhere. You'd even get called gay for wearing the wrong shoes. I began asserting my own individuality in an aggressive way, as a tactic to stay safe. I remember I used to watch Queer as Folk on SBS in my bedroom. I would sit really close to the TV and have the sound down so low so I could turn it off if someone walked in. Just being caught watching that show would mean that my secret would be out. Coming out as bisexual has been mostly quite negative. I've been quite shocked by the lack of understanding from the gay community and from girls. So many people insist that I really must be gay or that I'm going through a phase. When I've come out as bisexual to gay male friends, there's been a lot of judgment. As far as I'm concerned though, I don't have time for judgmental people. Relationships can be hard too. I'm currently with a boy. He asks me a lot if I miss being with girls. I always say no. I would rather be with you. I don't miss being with a piece of anatomy. It's so boring to fit into boxes all the time. I think people who obsess about labels compromise parts of themselves just so they can fit in. If life was black and white, we'd miss out on all the pretty colours of the rainbow.
I struggled through childhood largely because of gender confusion and pressure over gender roles. When I hit puberty, I thought there is something really wrong and I don't know what it is. When I was 17, I accidentally came out to Mum as a lesbian. It was a bit disastrous because it was the same day she found out my dad was gay. The way it came out was as if I was trying to defend my dad. She forced me back into a closet. Don't tell your brothers, they've just found out your dad is gay. I suppose I was dressing like a boy at that time and wearing mohawks before they were in fashion. I heard so many times, is that a boy or a girl? Which I hated. It seemed to make them confused, and that made me confused. At high school with my friends, I would feel invisible. They were all relating to me as a girl, which wasn't really who I was inside. I guess I just felt kind of jealous of the way that my female friends looked at other guys. I wanted them to look at me that way. And I was really uncomfortable with the way that the guys looked at me. I went to Sydney and met a couple of trans guys. I used to go out to this drag king night. I would go out and dress up with facial hair, and I really liked it. I got a lot of positive feedback. This friend said that I became this different person when I was in drag. More comfortable and confident, just happier and bubblier. It got to the point where after I'd been out, I'd wake up and wouldn't want to take off the facial hair. I remember that as I was talking to a friend about this book on trans people, I found at the library. Pretty soon it all suddenly hit me. I was no longer in denial. On the one hand, it was liberating, and on the other hand, the most terrifying moment of my life. I looked down at my body, knowing how I felt inside, and seeing my body didn't match that, and realised I had a long road ahead of me, including telling my family. After the way my mum treated me when I came out, I thought I'd be completely ostracised. But it was actually okay. She saw it as her chance to do it right this time. She said on the phone that she was really not surprised. She said I had to do what was right for me. I ended up moving back in with her and my two brothers. For me, there was no doubt that I wanted hormones, surgery. When I accepted that, I felt so much relief. I was really excited about my voice breaking and growing facial hair. Things changed so much after surgery. Issues from the past just came up one after the other. People think that when the physical body finally matches your insides, that everything will be all right. But then it was the 25 years of living a life that was not my true identity. All the grief and pain that went with that, feeling that I'd been robbed of my birthright, that maybe my life had been a mistake. I'm not speaking for all trans guys, but for me, transitioning was a spiritual process. It was about coming into my own body, and it was about healing. And transitioning is something that still continues and hasn't stopped. I definitely don't regret transitioning.
I started living part-time a decade ago before transitioning full-time. I had a lot of trouble because in the early years of trans medicine, if you identified as a lesbian, you were not allowed on hormones. You had to be attracted to men and consider yourself straight. On the other hand, I got a lot of transphobia from lesbian women. I'm like a lot of the girls. I spent a lot of time overcompensating, doing masculine things to prove I was as manly as they come. I disappeared to the Northern Territory in Western Australia and worked on cattle stations. Between cattle stations and racing motorbikes, my body is pretty second-hand. Where I get into trouble is when I present as a female but use the male part of my personality. If the car breaks down, guess what? I fix the car. I know plenty of girls who can fix their car but won't because they're girls now. I got burnt badly when I first transitioned. I had some friends who didn't know how to treat me, and then I had a few that just flipped out who wouldn't call me Alexis. And then I had others who were big, ochre and Aussie, who became really protective of me. So if I went out, you wouldn't want to cross me because you'll have a big burly biker breathing down your neck. My nephew asked me, "What do I call you now?" I said, "Alexis will do." He said, "Okay, cool." So, the trans community can be a tough place, especially if people tell you you have to go on hormones or follow the medical route. The ultimate goal is not always surgery. I don't believe in that shit. I believe everyone should make up their own bloody minds. I had a long-term friend who used to always say we needed something out here so we didn't have to go to the city. She'd say, when I win the lottery, we'll start our own trans support group and do it our way. I then stopped her one day and said, we don't need to win the lottery to do this. I think her head's still spinning. There were a lot of trans people out here who felt left out. We have everyone from teens to people in their 60s coming along. Historically, there were about 75% male to female trans people, but now that's changing. I love watching young people come into themselves, whether they be gay, trans, whatever. I like seeing young people getting the best start possible, especially young trans people. When I'm supporting young people and I'm out and about, in a number of places I've been asked if I'm their mother. My motto is that if you're not hurting anyone, it's cool. If we all took that on, that would save a lot of grief.
I hope you enjoyed the B and the T stories as much as I have. Coming up next, we've saved the best for last. We're going to have a look at the I cartoon, and I'm going to have some more exciting teen news for you as well. I hope you're enjoying the National Institute for Challenging Homophobia YourStory cartoon series as much as me. Here comes the I.
My earliest memories are of being in hospital. Most of the other kids were really sick, even terminally ill. Ironically, there was nothing wrong with me. I was healthy and I wasn't going to be terribly sick or die. I just grew up with things like medical examinations, surgeries, lots of observations. Often I would see my mother crying before medical appointments. I knew when I was 5 that I couldn't have kids because I overheard Mum and Dad. I remember Mum being very upset with it, so I pretended I didn't know anything. I was raised Catholic and went to an all-girls school with my twin sister. At school, I remember at things like camps and swimming classes that I'd have to hide who I was. I wouldn't get changed in front of the other girls. As long as I remember, there was always this sense that there were boys, there were girls, and then there was me. I ended up meeting a guy when I was 18. I decided to tell him everything. I even gave him all of my medical records. Can you believe that? It was like some sort of due diligence. I told him, if you want to go out with me, this is what you're getting. If you're still interested, get back to me in a week. And he did. I remember coming out as a lesbian when I was 26. I did the female straight person and that didn't work. Then I did the female lesbian person and that didn't exactly work. I took hormones, I tried to be male, and gay and Tony, but no, none of it was really me. I came out as intersex on 60 Minutes to everyone all at once, which was pretty full on. Surprise, I'm intersex. But it was so well received. That helped so much, finally being open and honest. I've always been interested in politics because that's where you can make the most difference, to be the change you want to be in the world. As a teenager, all the girls at school had pictures of Duran Duran in their lockers. I had the Dalai Lama, JFK, and Martin Luther King. I was pleased when I was elected Mayor of the City of Hobsons Bay in Melbourne. The council's gallery was full of gay and lesbian people, Maltese people, Catholic people and Muslim people. Talk about diversity and worlds colliding. I've been really lucky in relationships, but I did do a lot of sabotaging. Does this person take me as female or male? What do they expect? I'd often think, this is just going to be too difficult to explain, so I'd end up just going home. Now I've met someone who is okay with me being me. They accept me for me and my past. It's difficult. I can't imagine anyone with the capacity to accept someone with such a diversity of sex, sexuality and gender. We're engaged and we're getting married soon in New Zealand. In many ways, I'm very lucky. How many people have had the opportunity to not only go into a male-only area in a mosque as a man, but also as a lesbian into a lesbian community event? I have a sick sense of humour. I've got a really good family and I've always had good people in my life, and I've always been outgoing. I don't pretend to have all of the answers, but ultimately, I'm a person. I am part Antoinette and I'm part Tony, but I'm more than that. Recently, a local couple that I know contacted me. They said, we never really understood you being intersex and androgen insensitivity syndrome, but we never really had an issue about it either. But we've just recently had a baby and she has AIS. And the doctors were shocked that we already knew what it was. The couple said to me, thanks to you, we know that our child is going to be okay, that she's healthy, that she doesn't need surgery, and that she's going to have a productive, happy, healthy life. Lots of people ask, why do we need to have an I in the GLBTI community? And I say, our community was just screaming to have a vowel.
I hope you enjoyed the cartoon series tonight as much as I have. To continue to find out more about the great work that Daniel Witthaus does and watch these cartoon series again, you can go to thatsogay.com.au, find out about the National Institute for Challenging Homophobia Education and continue to support this great man's work as he continues to work for our community. If you enjoyed the tea story as much as I did, we've got some great news for you, because starting on September 1, Bent TV's brand new series this year, Transmission, will be commencing. Don't forget, help keep Bent TV on air, join up as a member, come along as a volunteer and help put us here every week. Go to benttv.org.au. Till I see you again, you've been in the thick of it with Sammi.